finally got my hut cleared. Only got a few pieces of timber left now, bit of paint and stuff. I can sit in here again. There was wood everywhere in here, sheets of ply and all that sort of thing. Oh, Pug's here. She can come in here during sessions and stuff, come in here, have a little chill out, have a cup of tea. I found myself looking through these magazines the other day. We was actually looking for Max's frame, what year it was, trying to work it out. It was from 2008. I had issues going back to 2001, 2002. This issue here, 2006. Story I'm talking about now, Bmx Frames. And I'm looking at the frames in this issue and holy shit. Even since 2006, the times have changed. And the younger generation these days will not understand what we used to have to put up with many years ago. I'm kind of like a mid-school rider. I moan about everything. That used to be my bike. It was a Ruption many years ago. Look at the state of it. One piece cranks, huge bottom bracket. The old school bottom bracket is massive. No internal headset. You used to have to hit the cups in with a hammer. Borrow your dad's S-Wing. Doesn't even have a built-in seat clamp. Unbelievable. Ruption, you piece of shit. You didn't need hub guards back in the day. The dropouts were so fucking big, your freewheel was safe. Issue, you used to get jammed on everything. Every time you used to grind something, the dropouts used to get jammed. So yeah, it's crazy how the times have changed with Bmx frames. That's what this talk's all about. That Ruption was probably from around 2005. Everything old school on it. And I can't complain. Frames these days are built really, really well. I've got to admit. And there's literally so many options out there that they've got to build them well. As soon as you get a bad reputation these days, your company's fucked. And it's true. When you think to yourself, what frame am I buying next? What do? Do you look at the price range? Do you look at the actual company? Or do you go by word of mouth? I think these days, best thing to do, word of mouth. Ask your friends. They'll be riding frames. They'll give you an option if it's good or not. You'll see what sort of abuse their frames have taken. It's how it's always been with me. I'd see a friend who rides quite heavy and stuff. I'll see what frame he's rocking. And sometimes I'll look up to other pros and stuff. See what frames they're rocking. If they bring out a signature model, I'm like, kind of like, oh, he rides heavy. His frame seems pretty shit hot. It seems to last. I'll get that one. And that is how it works. But we've all got to admit, we have all had our fair share of shit frames over the years. Yeah? I started out on Diamondbacks. They were awful. I then jumped onto a Harrow Zippo. That was awful. I then jumped onto Mongoose Super Goose. That was even worse. And then I was on a DK 6-pack. DK 6-pack was pretty good. It was kind of like the poor man's General Lee. Growing up, me and my friends, we all wished we had a DK General Lee just because Colin Walsh was rocking one. Colin Walsh was a local legend from Bristol. He had a mint condition General Lee. It was the bomb. Every time I seen it, I was jealous. And then one day, I first ever met Boff, and he had a DK Sob. What did Sob stand for? Son of a bitch. Can you get away with that these days? No, you cannot. See, the marketing and frames have changed. Some of the names back in the day, unbelievable. I had a friend that owned a frame called KHE Catweasel. That is KHE Catweasel. What a bloody name. And I had this friend once who used to do flat landing. He had a frame called Huafong Daddy. Name is on the screen now. He always called it the HWA. I always called it Huafong Daddy. And it was the most ugliest fucking frame I'd ever seen in my life. And it weighed about 9 pounds. That's the sort of shit we were dealing with back then. Frames weighed about 8 or 9 pounds. I also had a friend who had a frame S&M HAF. What did that stand for? Well, heavy as fuck, because that's what it was, and that's what it was called. Can you get away with that these days? No, you bloody can't. There was a frame called Two Hip Pork. I knew someone who owned one of them. There was a S&M War Pig. That thing was an absolute tank as well. And that's how frames were back in the days. You either had a frame that weighed an absolute ton, that cost a fortune, or a piece of shit like the Ruption. So going back to all the frames I've had after I had the 6-pack, my first ever frame that I actually bought outright, McNeil Reuben. And that frame was literally a dog's bollocks. And to be honest, when I look back at all the frames over the years, I think that was the biggest seller. The McNeil Reuben at the time, because he dropped his section in Etnies forward, that frame sold like hotcakes. Hash cakes, whatever cakes. And everyone was rocking that frame. You either had it in the tan or the blue. I had it in the blue. And yeah, the only reason why I ended up getting rid of that frame is because the times changed. Internal headsets turned up, smaller bottom brackets. I jumped onto a FBM PW Motto. It was the first ever American-made, handmade frame that I have ever owned. It was a proud moment, even though it was second-hand. But yeah, rocked that frame for a good few years. Sold it off to a good friend of mine. Started playing with the Sabrosa frames. Sabrosa's only come onto the scene. Sam Kirk was working for Bmx shop at the time. He said he can sort me out a good deal, so he did. I was rocking a black Pandora for about 6 months, and I destroyed it.
Shit, he's going for whack. Shit.
You alright?
Oh, fuck me. You alright? Yeah, I punched yourself in the fucking face.
But it's one of those situations. I destroyed it because I was an idiot. I mean, I think based on that crash, I would have destroyed any frame coming up short on that crash. So I can't blame the actual manufacturer. And the funny thing at the time, me and Kurt contacted 70s, trying to get a warranty on it. We actually sent them the frame, and they was just like, what the hell have you done here? Sam Kirk told them that I jumped down a 3 set of stairs. They would not have none of it. He's like, literally, you were short on the head tube by an inch. It creased the whole head tube in by an inch. So we had to admit, and they'd already actually seen the clip online. As soon as he actually mentioned my name, they already knew me. They already said they had seen that crash, so I couldn't do anything about it, couldn't lie anymore. They said, we're going to do your frame on crash warranty, half price. So I got a new Sabrosa for 100 quid, and that frame lasted sweet. The main difference between the old Sabrosa and the new one, the old one was black, new one was white. The new one actually had head tube gussets. And I swear by head tube gussets. I would not ride a Bmx frame without head tube gussets. Top and bottom, to be honest. I still see a lot of frames these days that don't come with them, and they come with these internal gussets. They say, sod that. I want to see these gussets exposed. See, even this frame's got headset gussets, top and bottom. This is a fit Wi-Fi. Main reason why it's up here, it's got a massive crack in the rear end, so matey just left it here. Said you can use it as an ornament. And you think I'm joking, but that is literally an anti-pigeon device now. Since I've put that up there, no pigeons sit on this post. I used to look out my window whilst I was doing the dishes, and I'd see all these pigeons sat along here, and they would shit all along here, everywhere. I'd come over here, there'd be big piles of pigeon shit. Since I put that up there, they don't come anywhere near here. So yeah, it's kind of like having a scarecrow. That frame's up there scaring away the pigeons. So what malfunctions have you had with frames over the years? Any good stories to tell me? My best story, personal story, about a Bmx frame is probably that Sabrosa, shortening the head tube by an inch. Don't think many people's done that in the past. They normally rip the head tube off and not actually shorten it. It's all creased up and stuff. But I think the best ever clip I've got of someone else ruining a frame, NAS 2009. Sean Hadlington, oh my god.
What frame is that? Federal.
Well, back to that story again. Would any frame have handled that crash? Let's be honest. I remember after the crash, loads of people asking, what frame was that? What frame was that? And then when they found out, they were slagging it off. But I was like, really? Coming down from like 15 foot to nosedive to flat bottom, I think any frame would have snapped under those conditions. Any frame. And when we get on issues like that, when you sort of break a frame by accident, you do it yourself, it's literally, you can't blame anyone else. Sam Burdett did it the other day on his BSD ALVX, brand new. Put that massive dent in the top tube, and once again, you couldn't really blame the manufacturer, you can't blame the frame. It's just one of those moments where it literally hit the corner of the grind box perfectly, and I felt sorry for him, obviously.
Oh, you fucking kidding!
Oh shit!
Have you ever tried them? 270 whip the hip? Yeah, not that hip, but a hip.
So after I was rocking the Sabrosa frames, I contacted Sam Kirk. I said I want something kind of special. I got a nice chunk of money. He said he was looking in the market, what sort of frame do you want and stuff. And I actually ended up buying a brakeless model, Eddie Cleveland V3 fit. And in all fairness, I had that frame for a good few years. That was the actual frame that I did the window drops and stuff with. I ended up spraying it yellow in the end. It was American made. The fit American made frames are made through S&M, and they do make a really good frame. Hats off to them. S&M and FBM, they both make awesome American made frames. I take my hat off to them. And Bone Deaf come along. Sean Burns, Creepazoid, signature model. Jumped on that frame ASAP. Had that frame for a good 3 years solid, and that frame was awesome. Everything you would want in a frame on that Bone Deaf. And when you think about it, it's Sean Burns' signature frame. What else could you ask for? And yeah, for a good few years with that frame, I tried acting like Sean Burns. I went on a mad one, jumping off everything I could, put that frame through its test. And I'd still be rocking it now. I'd still be rocking that frame now. Reason why I got rid of it, a good friend of mine, Dean Taylor, used to ride BMX years ago, stopped riding, suddenly come back into BMX, wanted a bike. This guy from Taunton, he had a brand new Garrett Reynolds Fiend frame with some other parts and stuff. He was selling it, so I ended up buying that, putting some of the parts onto the Bone Deaf, sold the Bone Deaf to Dean for a decent price, and then I kept the Garrett Reynolds Fiend frame, purely for the colour. I'm not going to shit you, when I seen that colour, that cherry red, my Bone Deaf was raw at the time, I was kind of like, and I was going to spray the Bone Deaf, and I was kind of like, actually, I like this cherry red, I'm going to keep this Garrett Reynolds frame. I've had the Garrett Reynolds frame for now a year and a half, and it's been a solid frame. Touch wood, it has been a solid frame. So yeah, frame talk. That's me. I've literally obviously been riding since like 2001, 2002. I came up through the years when frames were really poorly made. To be honest, there wasn't many decent frame makers back in the day. You had your standard, you had FBM, you had kind of like S&M. But the market these days, you've got so much choice, it's unbelievable. Internal headset, built-in seat clamp, small dropouts, nice looking tubing, even has gussets. But buying a BMX frame is kind of like buying a new car. I know it's a lot cheaper, but it's one of those things where there's so much range out there. It's hard to choose which one's best and which one will suit you the best. What do you do? Prepare yourself. They are coming. Oh shit. There's gonna be a war. Pug versus the Dobermans. Two-seat for you. Yes, mate. Carving it. And that is why the Dobermans can't be over here when we ride. They just chase me around. Around and around and around and cut me up. They remind me of Will Wiggins. They're like a snake. Oh, jeez. Oh my god. Literally, what was I saying in the last video? Always wear a helmet, stick on some knee pads, only takes a few seconds. Didn't put them on, did I? They're in the wash at the moment, ready for the 4-day weekend. Doberman cut me up, and now I've got a swollen knee. Because I slid out and I need the side of my frame. Bit of ice, it'll be alright. So yeah, a classic Baskett random vlog, talking about frames, old school, new school, everything in between. I want to hear your input. What sort of frames have you had over the years? What is your favourite frame to this date? My favourite frame to this date, I'd say the Bone Deaf frame. Really like the Fiend frame I'm rocking now. But in all fairness, the Bone Deaf, Sean Byrne's signature frame, that has been my favourite. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Get some ice on this knee. Not a good idea, letting the Dobermans chase me around, but I thought it'd be quite funny. Makes for some enjoyable clips, I suppose. So thanks for watching this one. And bye for now.